Hey, Billy, you know what's freaking awesome?
What's that, man?
Evil Dead, yo!
Yeah. Oh man. So one of our earlier episodes, we were talking about the video store, right? And
Oh, yeah.
then how just standing there, and even when you're not watching the movies, but when you're just staring at those iconic covers that just kind of like they draw you in, they make you want to watch this thing. And then I don't know from last week's video of the week before last video of the Friday the 13th collection. I showed you
Mm-hmm.
on camera the back cover of Part Five, The New Beginning.
Oh, yeah.
That, and I have to say that growing up, that basically because when I was a kid, that was we mentioned it on the Friday episode, but that was like the newest one that was out. So it had the poster at the video store, and it had the newest and the most amount of tapes was Part Five, right?
Yeah.
And I used to just stare at the back of that video and look at that dude's head, like halfway cut off by the machete on the motorcycle,
Yeah.
and that and the cover of Evil Dead 2 with
Yeah.
the skull with the eyeballs in it.
Yep.
Just and it was something that it just took you a long time to figure out why it was so disturbing, and it's because skeletons aren't supposed to have eyeballs, right? And but yeah, so
Well, on the back of the box,
iconic
man,
movies.
when you've got Ash sitting there and you've got the hand that's around it's his own hand, but it's cut off. And you stop and you would stare at these little bitty pictures, right? And you're just going, I got to see this. This
Mhm.
looks absolutely insane. And
Which, in the case of Evil Dead, you are
you're
absolutely
you're not
right.
wrong. Yeah, man. I mean, I go back and forth with. I mean, you can see behind me here. I've got my little Phantasm poster, which is signed by pretty much the whole cast of the original. But Evil Dead and Phantasm are really my favorite franchises when it comes to horror. Uh, Man, I love Evil Dead so much, and I am really excited to get to talk about it because to me it's and the reason I say series is because I think as a whole it really still holds up because it's kind of like the Marvel universe. You can have the same
Hmm.
characters and throw them in a totally different situation, and you still go, okay, I buy it. And Bruce Campbell is that guy. And yeah, for me, it was a little mom and pop shop. Actually, it was the record store that we talked about in one of the other episodes, the little hometown place they called Next Door at UTM College. And they would have old videotape rentals on the wall, velcroed to the wall, right? The VHS box was velcroed to the wall, and you would take the box up there, and they would put the tape in it and give it to you, and you took it home. And when it came back, they stuck it back on the wall. And pretty neat idea. But yeah,
That is
that
awesome.
that that cover of Evil Dead, the original poster art or VHS art, with the girl coming up out of the ground, you know, iconic,
Hmm.
iconic. And wow, I remember just being absolutely floored by not only just the craziness and the over the top gore that's in it, but Sam Raimi, man, the camera work in these movies, you knew you were watching something special, even if it was
Certainly.
very low budget. And I never will forget when my daughter was whenever they made the first Spider-Man movie, and Sam Raimi was, selected to be the director. And I told my daughter, I said, Sam Raimi's going to direct Spider-Man. In her mind, she went, that will be incredible because the way that he makes things swoop and all, it's like, yeah. I said, it's the perfect match. And wow, I mean, you were seeing the mad scientist of filmmaking when you watched the first Evil Dead movies.
Dude, it's so crazy. Because again, just growing up and having seen them at sleepovers, I mean, before we even get into the meat and potatoes of the franchise, before we even talk about the story, the characters or anything. Just imagine nationwide for what now 30 years has
Yeah.
just been this the number of popcorn and Dr. Pepper infused sleepovers and friends watching this scary movie and just having just they're they're shocking, like they're so over the top that
Yeah.
it like we mentioned, how I always get got by that scene in the Thing. It's like
Hmm.
there's stuff in the Evil Dead, all three movies or whatever, that is just so out of bounds
Yeah.
that it, like you said, it's still fresh because it always kind of gets you just a little bit off guard, and
Yep.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
And like you say, the mad scientist at work, because it does take a special skill to be able to make. When you're working in the realm of time, it's like if you can make a jump scare continue to jump
Yeah.
for decades,
Yeah.
then you're really good at what you do. And he pulls it off many times with the Evil Dead franchise.
Yep.
Even in stuff like Army of Darkness, where it's not technically scary, but it still just jumps out at you and gets you.
Still makes your heart jump, man. Down
Yeah.
in the pit, right? He's down there in the pit, and all of a sudden that one busts out of the wall. Yeah, man. You go, whoa!
But you're laughing at the same time.
Gets
'cause
you
it's
every
just
time. Yeah.
so crazy. So yeah, so I guess, I first became aware of the franchise with that Evil Dead 2.
Hmm.
Strangely enough, the video store didn't carry Evil Dead 1. So like you
Right.
scroll across the videos and, like alphabetically, and it was just Evil Dead 2. I don't think I ever remember thinking that was weird. I just
No.
maybe somebody had it out or whatever. But Evil Dead 2 was a scary looking video, and I was a little bit older when I watched that one because some of those were just like ugh. and, but yeah, you say that's one of your favorite franchises. So start at the beginning.
Yeah.
When did they first get you? When did the Raimi brothers get you?
So yeah, I mean, you have to pull out all the goodies, right? Yeah, when you have to have the DVD. I tell you what, Anchor Bay, Anchor Bay, and George Lucas have made so much money off of me because I've got 15 different versions of every one of these movies. This was obviously one of my favorites, but yeah. I don't remember if I've told you this story or not, but I've told it to somebody. But I actually saw Evil Dead 2 first, but I didn't know what it was. Have I told you this?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So there was a videotape at our house. I don't know if my mom recorded it, which was really be weird. But somebody in my house in the 80s recorded on a VHS tape Evil Dead 2, but it took the beginning off where it tells you what the movie is. It just starts where the car. So if you think about the title, Evil Dead comes up and the D turns, and it becomes a tunnel, and the old Delta 88 is coming out of that tunnel. It starts when they're coming out of the tunnel, so you never see the name of the movie. This is a blank VHS, no name on it, nothing. I just threw it in one day. I'm watching it and was totally floored by this movie. Went to a buddy's house the next night, took the tape. We watched it 3 times. Still no idea what it was because it didn't even have the end credits on it either. And
That
so
sounds like
we
something
went for
out of a horror movie, actually. You just find the random videotape and press play, like The Ring or something.
And then that's when I discovered the first movie, because, again, the art pulled me in, and I watched it, and I was like, this guy looks familiar. I think this is the same. And then it showed the car, I was like, crap, that's the same car in that crazy movie that I saw. And then I started putting it together. Well, that movie must have been Evil Dead 2. And then when I found the VHS of Evil Dead 2, and I turned it over, and I was like, yep, this is that crazy movie where he's doing the shimp stuff, right? Where he's hitting himself over the head with his, it's a total Three Stooges act he's doing there. So I finally put it together, that's what this movie was. But there's such a contrast between the first two movies, all three movies, really. And again,
Totally.
you either absolutely love that concept of it, or it's the thing that turns you away from it. Because the first one is a straight up, low budget, Herschel Gordon Lewis, Fulci, over the top, gory horror movie.
Meant to be scary.
Yeah. With effects that really you had never seen anything like before. I always reference the scene where the girl is coming towards him that's been possessed, and and then he's saying, hit it, right? Hit her. And he takes the axe, and you see contact,
Mm-hmm.
So we know it's not a real person, but to see somebody swing an axe in a movie and actually hit something with it, and it's not a cutaway close-up thing, to see him drop a figure to the ground with an axe, I'd never seen anything like that before. And then you take the Scolari lenses, the makeup, come on. I mean, it was just mind-boggling. First movie just absolutely floored me because the way that it's shot, the angles of the movie, the gore factor. I mean, when they chop up the body and the body parts are flopping around, it becomes passé, right? Because we've seen it time and time again. But this is the first time you'd ever seen anything like that.
Exactly.
Even in the Romero stuff, you still hadn't really seen these kind of things happen, right? With arms flopping and body parts jiggling, and so it just blew me away. And the other brilliant thing about the first Evil Dead movie is all of your predictability stuff goes out the window, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go out, you get in the car, you crank it, it won't crank. It's not going to crank. Vroom, it cranks up, right? So all the tricks of drawing you in and getting rid of all the tropes, they're there, but he put a twist on all of them. And that's what keeps you guessing. And that's the reason, just like you were saying a while ago, the scenes that pop at you, right? The scene where it gets real quiet and he puts his ear down to the door and the hand comes up and grabs him. That timing is so off that you'll never time it right. And then there's the other one where he leans up against the door and the hands come through the door and grab him. Gets you every time. So
I had seen with buddies, we'd seen Evil Dead 2 quite a bit. I saw Army of Darkness when it came out, or at least when it came out on video for the first run. I totally didn't see that in the theater. I think it would have been a magical experience. But so I saw, in effect 2 and 3 quite a bit, several times. And like I said, the video store didn't have part 1. It's just kind of one of those things. So like I kind of went through life thinking like maybe it, like I love the Evil Dead, whatever. And then I got a DVD of it. A buddy of mine loaned it to me, and I popped it in and started watching Evil Dead 1. And it plays so similarly to Evil Dead 2. I was kind of like, wait, he must have thrown the wrong disc in. Because, it's pretty, but the actors are different. Like, the actors are different. Like, what's going on here? So I just sat there and watched it. And again, I was used to the funniness. I was used to the silliness, the inside jokes, kind of like in Evil Dead 2, Ash is, he's already gone over the edge. He's sarcastic and silly and has his, the evil Ash is in part 2, which is not in part 1. But, so as an actor, Bruce Campbell had to exercise, had to do a whole lot more chops in part 2 than he did in part 1. But part 1 is so serious and so dark and so frightening and so just bleak, and it's like the scariness of the tapes in the basement, like, old Ted in the in the basement, locked in the basement as a demon. But like you said, what do you do? Like when your girlfriend gets straight up possessed, like that's another thing that's in part 1. That's one of those things. Like in zombie movies, people turn to zombies, and the people that hesitate also turn into zombies. So you learn watching zombie movies that when they look somewhat off, just err on the side of kill the zombies, right?
Yeah.
But Evil Dead takes it very almost realistically. Like, what would you do?
Yeah.
Your girlfriend starts foaming at the mouth and speaking in strange languages, but then she turns back.
Yeah.
You're not gonna just
Yeah.
stake her or decapitate her or put a bullet through her brain, because there's things like cops in jail and hospitals and mental illness and like all
Right.
kinds of things that would prevent you from just taking her out. you know, you'd have to like check a lot of boxes before it becomes appropriate to do
Heck yeah.
that. And
Before it becomes appropriate.
so it's a pretty dark place, because you got real human beings going through some real
Yep.
traumatic and demon possession type stuff. Where in part 2 he's just like, go.
Right. Yeah. Well, the other thing too about the what I like about the possessions in this one, it's not like a one size fits all, right? It's not like other like the movie Demons, right?
Mhm.
They're all possessed by the same type of demon, I guess, because they all react the same way. Whereas here, you get one that's the cynical, the one that's in the basement kind of thing, and then you get Ash's girlfriend in the first movie, who's the one that just sits there and kind of laughs. So they're all tormenting him in different ways. So they're not all the same kind of creature. They have
Right.
the
They're all
demons
different.
have
They've
these personalities that make them, stand out from each other. And I've always thought that was so clever, because what would drive you insane? It's easy to learn that here comes a zombie and they're all zombies. They all don't think and they just want to eat your brain. Here's one that sits and laughs at you and ridicules you. Here's one that just wants to tear you apart. Here's one, that messes with your mind if they've changed or not. Good grief, man. the one that when the boyfriend throws her on the fire and she catches fire and she's burning and she's like, oh, and he pulls her off the fire because she's burning. And then she just goes ballistic on him. To this day, man, I just sit there with my mouth open, just going, wow, what a scene,
Right.
wow, just incredible.
So good. So then with Scary Dad, Scott and I did fresh eyes on the franchise. So watch back to back to back. So over the course of 3 nights, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And again, so then watching part 2 directly after watching part 1, and realizing that it's not really a sequel as much as a reboot,
Retelling,
because it starts off with them arriving at the same place, and that they never first of all, if he ever actually got away, because the bridge was out in the end of the first one, so they couldn't get away. Right. But then bridge was out, because in the end of the second one he gets sucked into the future, or into the past. Sorry, my bad. I'm sitting there trying to keep my timelines correct. So if he never got away, then he would never he wouldn't just be coming back. So it is kind of just a straight up
retelling.
Part 2 is just a retelling of the first one. But then he puts up with a whole lot less crap in the second one.
He's becoming the hero, right? And that's that decision that Sam Raimi made. The first movie is a straight up horror flick, and it's kind of unusual to have a guy be the last one at the end, even at this time point, right? Because it was always about the Scream Queens. And the fact of him not getting away at the end was always a big deal, because that was kind of that didn't happen either, right? But you got to think about the time frame. You kept saying it a while ago. I could find 2 and 3, but I never could find the first one. And what's weird is in that time period, it didn't matter. The way that we grew up, sequels, we know nowadays that it meant the first movie did well enough that it deserved having a sequel to make more money off of it. Back then, it didn't seem to matter. Every movie just seemed like kind of a standalone kind of thing. And you think about why you couldn't find the first one. Well, distribution wasn't that great, right? It was a smaller company. And until it became a cult classic, it never really got distributed like the rest of them. Evil Dead 2 was the chance to make a movie with a budget with De Laurentiis' company, you know. So this was Sam Raimi's big break, was getting to remake the first movie again, but he decided to take it, you know, how do you separate it from the first one? You got to make it, you know, make it similar, but you got to take it somewhere totally different. And boy, did he.
The scenes where he's fighting his own hand are so awesome, you know. And from an acting point of view, I mean, because it's your hand and you've got to give it a personality, and you know, but even the little noises that it makes, you know, and it's like skittering around and it's laughing at him like his girlfriend was laughing at him in the first one. Now it's his hand laughing at him in the second one.
Dude,
and
when he shoots out the window, or when he goes to sit in the chair and he falls down, the deer starts laughing at him. I'm telling you, man, me and my buddies, like I said, first time we were watching this, I had already seen it, but I mean, what do you say? I mean, you know?
Well, and that's why, and I'm sure it's been covered in a lot more detail than here, but I'm pretty much convinced that there's there's part one where there's like some demons released, and kind of towards the end of part one is where Ash just loses his mind, and all the rest of it just occurs because he's gone. He's over the rainbow,
without a doubt.
And so you know, cutting his own hand off, becoming the evil twin of himself, you know,
freaking Bobby Joe. Like, I mean, you know, I mean the characters that get brought in from there. I mean, I've got a buddy back here at home, and Brett Collins, I'm sure he's listening. We've called each other Bobby Joe for years now. I mean, we're just Bobby Joe. I mean, that's just our thing, you know. And how weird that these side characters became iconic. You know, that's right. I'm running this show now. We're gonna go out there and we're gonna find Bobby Joe. Part 2, man. The dancing corpse. I mean, when he kills his girlfriend at the beginning, you get the sped up version of part 1, you know, crammed into this little 4-minute segment at the beginning of the movie, and then it just goes from there. But you know that they had to be cackling when they put this movie together. I mean, because it's so bizarre and so
we're
crazy.
Talking about it, but I'm thinking of that, like you mentioned, you know, oh hey, you know, they can make Evil Dead again just with money, and I'm thinking of like the guys from Wayne's World, just going out and buying like the licorice thing,
exactly,
for their car because they've got the money for it,
because they got the money to do it. Hey, I want to make her dance around like a ballet, but I want it to be stop motion. But I want her body to be all decayed, but the head to look like a porcelain baby doll. I mean, it's just like, what?
Call the makeup guy, get it done.
K&B, man, this is K&B's early work. So yeah, I mean, this is the company that launched 1,000 monsters after this one, man. Yeah, it's just groundbreaking, man. It's so much fun. One of my favorite stories ever is James Cameron said that he was hanging out, and Bill Paxton pulled up in his car and said, "Jump in the car. We're going to go see this movie. It's called Evil Dead 2. You're going to love it." So Bill Paxton had already seen it and then went to get James Cameron to go watch it with him. I mean, that's how much of an impact, you know, it made. And also, how about the back and forth with Wes Craven with these movies, right? So, first Evil Dead, you've got the Hills Have Eyes poster.
Mm-hmm.
So the story there is, you know, Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, Rob Tapert all grew up big fans of The Hills Have Eyes. And in The Hills Have Eyes, there's a Jaws poster on the wall, supposedly Jaws. And they thought in that scene where the mutated people go in there and rape Dee Wallace, whoever it is at the time in the movie, they tear that Jaws poster, and they thought they were saying, that's pop horror, you're watching real horror. right now.
Right.
So they put the poster in Evil Dead, and it's ripped in half saying, well, you think that was a horror movie, this is a horror movie. And then Wes Craven found out that poster was in there, so when you watch Nightmare on Elm Street, what's Nancy watching? Evil Dead.
Evil Dead.
So then you get Evil Dead 2, because they found out that they shot part of Evil Dead in Nightmare on Elm Street. That's where you get the Freddy Krueger glove that's hanging over the workshed door. It's just funny how they did that little thing back and forth, and, it's hardly even noticeable unless you just really are a nerd like me.
Like those sorts of little Easter eggs or things. Those I love that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff. Whenever they mention, there's a legend or something like that, which explains they're kind of in the same universe or whatever.
Yeah.
That's always so much fun.
Yeah,
and,
when the people that you look up to, when the people you look up to acknowledge your work.
Yes.
Your job is done, right? I mean, that's really why you do it to begin with, is just to be noticed by those people, right?
Totally. And I heard Bruce Campbell on a podcast, and they were talking about, it's like, it's surprising how successful it was, and blah, blah, blah. And it's funny because Bruce Campbell was like, it was a surprise to everybody but us.
Yeah.
He was like, we kind of, we knew when we had the script written, and whenever we had a few, couple feet of film made, we knew that it was going to be special.
Yeah.
Because it was just so awesome.
Yeah.
And he's like, we got a loan from my parents, and my parents believed in it. He's like, it was a surprise hit because it's hard to get a hit, but we kind of just knew that it was going to take off. Like, if we could just get the traction. And he's like, and it wasn't coming from a place of conceit. It was coming from a like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Like, whenever you have it, you're like, okay, we need to take care of this and treat it well, and then treat it well. He did.
Originality. I mean, it doesn't tip the hat to any one thing in general where you go, well, I see where they totally ripped that off. I mean, the only thing that you can see that they ripped off was maybe some Three Stooges stuff. I mean,
Right. Exactly. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, we've seen it so many times now that everybody's pulled from Evil Dead, but Evil Dead didn't really borrow from a lot of other sources. You had The Exorcist out there as far as possession goes, right? That was kind of it. You had the Living Dead. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's kind of interesting ideas there. So, yeah.
And I like the fact, because Evil Dead gets thrown into a lot of zombie movie kind of conversations, but
they're demons.
They're demons, and they're not real easy to kill.
Right.
Like zombies are pretty easy to kill. You just have to hit them. You just have to hit them right.
Exactly. It's like, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, zombie, you shoot them in the head and it's done. These guys, total body dismemberment.
Yeah. And they'll just sit there and laugh at you for doing it, and then just skip over into the deer or into the light switch, or wherever else that they can squeeze weird stuff out of. Because I mean, at the end of Evil Dead 1, I mean, it's so crazy that it just gets almost ridiculous. For you, just like, are they squeezing toothpaste out of a light socket? Like, whose idea was this? And
oh, look, they like to show 8mm films while they're down here in the basement.
But then between the first one and the second one, and then we're going to talk about the third one. But let's take a break, because we have a couple of trailers to play for you. Got to do this one up right. There's too many little clips and tricks and stuff we've got to hear. So hold on just a second. We'll be right back.
4 years ago, in this quiet forest, in this cozy cabin, something happened. Something so frightening. Something so deadly. something so evil. We prayed it would never happen again. Now, from the creator of Evil Dead, comes Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
In an age of darkness
May God have mercy upon your souls. Something's wrong. Something's amiss.
and a time of evil,
You shall die!
when the world needed a hero,
This one was so about to die!
what it got was him.
Groovy. You know your shoelace is untied.
He's a 20th century guy
For that arrogance, I shall see you dead.
trapped in the Middle Ages.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. This is my boomstick.
Now, let's talk about how I get back home.
Foretold by a mystical book.
Within its pages are passages that can send you back to your time.
Forewarned by a wise man.
You must recite the words Klaatu, Berata, Niktu.
I got it.
Fulfilled by a wise guy.
Batu, Barada.
When thou misspoke the words, the army of the dead awoke.
Now he's got a date
Give me some sugar, baby.
with the army of darkness.
You found me beautiful once.
Honey, you got real ugly.
Sound the trumpets. Raise the drawbridge. Drop the Oldsmobile. From Sam Raimi,
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
director of Darkman, comes Army of Darkness. They live. They breathe. They suck. Army of Darkness.
So then you do the first one, and then you reboot the second. Do a second one as kind of a reboot slash retelling, and then you have pretty much everybody who's ever been famous in Hollywood lining up for cameos and executive producer credits for the third one.
Yeah.
Like if you hear the story about Army of Darkness and just how many people wanted to be a part of it, like Sam Raimi was turning down people left and right, and big names, like big names for people who would work for free just to be in it. They just wanted to have 2 seconds to say that they were in Army of Darkness, and that's when you know you've made it right there.
Right.
Like when
It's like wanting to be in the Tarantino film. I mean, it was that level.
Yeah. And just love how it opens up, where he's just like,
My name's Ash, and I'm a slave.
well, like where things took a wrong turn from like he's the prophesied protector to now he's a slave. Like within a couple of minutes, it was like whatever he did or said, he got himself in trouble.
Yeah, but he's the perfect anti-hero, right? I mean, he's the guy that we all want to be. He's Jack Burton, right? A guy that fakes it really well, but really has no idea what he's doing, right?
Well, he gets to figuring it out.
Yeah.
You know, once he gets his chainsaw and his boomstick, he's and again, going back to Evil Dead 2, where he's got the chainsaw and he's like, setting it up, and he's got the little montage of
the Sam Raimi montage, man. Yeah, I mean that's just a staple of his, man. Yeah, man. taking the chainsaw and cutting off the barrels to make it a short barrel shotgun, and he knocks them off with his elbow and says, "Groovy." I mean, it's just iconic. I mean, it's so ridiculous, but so awesome at the same time.
Well, and I like too how he has the little hook on his chest that holds
so you crank
the pull string, so he can crank it without having to use his other hand.
Yeah, man. I mean, the second, and I know people that don't like the second one, and I can see it, because again, your diehard horror people don't care for the second one because it's slapsticky, right? And the third one, you can't really call it a horror movie at all. It's an action adventure flick. It's, you put it back to back with Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, it's that kind of flick. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about being excited when they announced they were making a third one. And I bought one of the magazines back in the day, and it had him standing out in the desert with the gun up, and it said Evil Dead 3. I was like, oh man, this is going to be the greatest thing ever, because Universal Pictures is putting it out. Big budget. Evil Dead 3 in the theater. I was there, man. And I have to admit, 10 minutes in, I was like, I don't know where this is going, but I'm really having a good time. And then, to me, that movie flies by. That movie feels like it's about 30 minutes long.
He just absolutely will not learn the words. He's just like...
Look, I know your words.
Think about all the stuff that he's been through, all of the people he's seen either killed or turning into demons, and here's a guy who's like, "Here's how you stop these demons," and he's like, "I'll get around to it." It's completely like blows him off. Like, it's like, you're a nerd. Like, this pretty much, it's like kind of just telling the guys like, "You're a nerd. I've got this under control," and he doesn't even bother learning the words. It's so fun.
Becomes such a butthole, man. I mean, just everything. I mean, what's not a quotable line from that movie, right?
Exactly.
I mean, God, I mean, the movie is just absolutely full of one-liners. Man, it's just fantastic, man. Close the door. Was you raising the barn? I guess you were raising the barn with all the rest of these primates. I mean, just, so much fun, man. And the creatures are very, very, reminiscent of why we like Harryhausen films and things like that. I mean, they're a little more gory to that effect, but they still had that rubber suit monster feel about them, which they are. I mean, they're rubber suit monsters. Mm-hmm. But
which is the best kind of monsters.
It makes you happy when you're watching it, because for some reason, it's a rubber monster, but you love it. You would rather see that than some CGI animated thing that's just going to be over there on the side, just kind of going, right?
Totally.
I do, anyways.
I love, for me, practical effects, blood cannons, and, again, just talking about Tom Savini and trying to figure stuff out with, they didn't have these ready-made props and stuff available. They had to figure stuff out. They had to figure out what reacts to what looks good, what colors look proper under camera light, because you can't use blood red looks brown. Like real blood on camera looks brown. So you have to find a color of red that looks the proper red once it's filmed. Those kind of experiments. And rubber monsters, I'm a big fan of lo-fi. You know what I mean? Lo-fi, bootleg style. Again, we mentioned it, that it opens up the imagination. You have to.
It really does.
If it's a rubber suit monster, you're like, okay, But when you think about it, though, when I watch Army of Darkness or Evil Dead 2, I mean, there's a couple of hokey effects, like the deer. The deer doesn't look real. Okay, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to get mad about the fact, and I don't think that scene would be enhanced. Like, all the money they could have spent to make that look like an actual taxidermy deer, like putting an armature inside of it, whatever, to make it look more realistic, it wouldn't affect the scene or make it any better. So you kind of pick your battles. You know, the whole point of the deer moving around is the fact that it's freaking crazy. Like,
it's so outlandish.
If you're trying to write a college paper explaining Evil Dead 2 in literary terms, it's like, what is the symbolic meaning of the deer? And it's like the meaning of the deer is that, again, Ash is so far over the rainbow, or these demons are just messing with him so much that they wake up a dead taxidermy deer and make it move around just to mess with him. You know what I mean? So, like, you can...
But the thing is, at least they put some sort of demonic detail to it, because what else is in there? A laughing lamp. I mean, so, you know...
There's all kind... So when I watch the rubber monsters, and the Evil Dead monsters are awesome. They have the cool contacts. Yeah. I love the fact that they change back. You know, again, like we were talking earlier, like, you can't just take an X to one because she might still be your girlfriend in there. Like, it's...
How about the fact of our hero in the second movie changes back?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You know, you talk about a twist, and now he's the hero. Wow.
Exactly. Well, and then the evil one that broke out of him, he's the villain. So he's fighting himself, really.
You're goody little two shoes. Man. So, dude, I was just laughing the whole time, man.
Dude, I love rubber monsters. That suspension of disbelief. That it gives me joy to think, like, people sitting there with clay and latex and molds and sitting there like, okay, let's screen test this. Like, okay, let's add a little bit more of this or that. You know what I mean? Like,
the official bootleg edition of Army of Darkness. You know, again, you know, just a sucker for them, man. You know, and let's talk about that for a second, because there is the other cut of the last movie, the Army of Darkness, with the alternate ending.
See, and I was going to mention that. I'm glad you reminded me, because I have to wonder which one is the actual ending, because I think I saw the alternate ending first.
Really? The one
but I'm not sure which one.
Where he does the Rip Van Winkle thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he wakes up in the future?
Yeah. Oh, no! I took too many drops! I slept too long!
Yeah. And so, like, I was just assumed that was the ending, and kind of like, have you heard it? Like, and I know this is a complete departure, but it's weird. Remember Tim Burton's Batman?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the iconic scene that was in all the previews where the Joker, Batman flies away, he saves Kim Basinger, and the Joker says, "Where does he get those wonderful toys?"
Mm-hmm.
And then for whatever reason, there's a hard cut, right?
Yeah.
In the theatrical release, because I saw that movie like 4 times in the theater, he asks where he gets the toys from. Batman slides down the rope and goes away. Joker's like, where does he get those wonderful toys? And then the henchmen are just standing there, and the Joker turns around and he goes, well, go ask him. And for whatever reason, on every subsequent cut, they've cut
that scene,
2 seconds of footage out of that film. So I don't know if there was a licensing problem, something in the background. Maybe there was, these makeup falling off. I don't know why. But they cut 2 seconds out, and it bugs me, because it's also a hard cut. Like, they didn't smooth it nicely. It's just like,
right.
And so I was wondering, like, with Evil Dead, it's like, how is it that I saw the alternate ending back when it was all VHS? You know, but to me, he always woke up in the future. That was just what happened. And like seeing the original one was like,
that's not right.
Wait, so.
Well, I think they felt like they had one more chance to, take it somewhere else. I guess It probably depended on the chances of where was this movie going to go afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Was it going to continue, or is this a hard stop? So going to the future sets up a whole other movie, right? Where he's going, into the future, and who knows what he's fighting there, right? Versus, the story of him coming back and telling, Ted Raimi, the story at the store, and he goes, "So did you say the words right this time?" So yeah, I don't know either, man. I'm not one guy that will sit and just start studying a bunch of stuff and try to dig all that stuff out. I kind of like the fact of, a lot of it just kind of happens just because. And I don't know. I still prefer the theatrical ending. Just because I like ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store. I like the whole S-Mart thing, because that becomes so iconic. And but it would have been cool to see the future. But then you think about past Army of Darkness, you think to the series. Well, the store version, the theatrical cut, makes sense for it to kind of continue on because he's an older guy. He's still in this time period. It kind of carries through modern time.
Yeah.
So,
and he's still working at S-Mart.
Right. Yeah. So
he saved the world, but can't get a promotion.
Yeah. Yeah. But Army of Darkness to me, man, is just fun. I mean, if I want something to kind of just get me out of the dumps, I can throw that movie on, man, and I'm just cackling, man, because he's just chewing up the scenery left and right, all by himself. And I love the fact of when the big fight scene at the end, and you can tell, I think we brought this up before, but people are just throwing skeletons to him, and he has to just react somehow. What do I, I'll break it over my knee, or, you can tell it's totally just ad-libbed on some of this stuff. They had to be having an absolute blast with that stuff. Man.
It had... because some of us, we live in this horror movie life. We got buddies that are putting together haunted attractions. They're down there building right now. They got 2x4s, glue, and foam, and they're building these special effects. I mean, you can imagine if you could get a job doing that, and that's what you got paid to do. You wake up each day and you get to just make monsters and, again, snap skeletons over your knee and cut off, spout silly one-liners, and it
kind of the dream.
So much fun. It would be so much fun. And
my daughter, when she was in school, they would do haunted houses to raise money, and I was the guy. They would bring me in, and I would show them how to levitate a woman over here. We actually took the footage from the first Evil Dead of "Why did you wake me from my slumber?" And I built a teeter-totter, which, went through a wall. And actually my daughter stood on it, and she had the hair and stuff, and she would stand, and her gown would cover the board, and it was painted black, so you never saw the board. And all of a sudden, that music would start, and a strobe light would come on over, and she would start levitating, and she would quote those lines and stand there and do all this stuff, and it looked fantastic. So, I was involved for, we designed 2 or 3 different haunted houses for her while she was in school, and we did some pretty cool stuff, man. We electrocuted a chick and, pulled guts out of people and all that kind of stuff. Matter of fact, I got Danny, from Hell Ming to come down and be a Dr. Butcher in
nice.
One of the scenes. And you could hear him through the whole haunted house. He was so freaking loud. But yeah, man, it all comes back to growing up watching these movies, and you start putting it together in your head, the magic of it, right? People are building this stuff. You can sit there and say, people got to be warped to think about it. Well, no, there's a method to the madness, and you get intrigued by that stuff. Hey, because the question is, how did they do that? Right? Mm-hmm. We say it all the time. Every time we see a fantastic effect, how'd they do that?
And, I was gonna ask you, because you've met Bruce Campbell at least a couple of times, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
That was one of those things because that same Frightmare weekend that I met you at, I met all of the guys whoever played Jason Voorhees. You know, it was the Jason Friday the 13th reunion. And I remember talking to Kane Hodder, and I shook his hand, and I was like, man, you used to just scare the Jesus out of me when I was a kid. I just used to lay there paralyzed, just knowing that at some point, you know, the masked maniac was going to come through my window. And he kind of laughed. He's like, you know, Jason never killed any kids, you know. And then he kind of nudged over at Steve Dash from part 2. He was like, although he did kill a dog.
Right.
And, you know, and Steve Dash kind of just, you know, laughed it off because, you know, they're in the convention scene, you know, they chat and joke and, you know, stuff. But to see literally, you know, to meet the people, the man behind the mask, you know, like you are responsible for my nightmares and you're awesome because you're shaking my hand and, you know, you're signing autographs and taking pictures. And again, you know, it's like, I think people who are horror fans have just a kind of a different, it's a different kind of fun, I think, because, you know, it's like, and I want to go back to Bruce Campbell, obviously, but
it's exactly what this poster is right here, man. The tall man to me was my nightmare because here's a guy that's chasing a kid, right? And I'm the same age as the kid. So yeah, he was always my first real fear, him and Christopher Lee as Dracula. But yeah, man, it's neat to see these guys because you realize it's a business, right? But they shaped, you know, they took a genre they grew up loving with Lon Chaney and all these great people and created just a mega force of horror genre that is so big now. I mean, you know, we see it all the time. Oh crap, you have your own conventions, man. I mean, it's a big thing. There's a lot of fans, and it's funny because it still kind of caters back to these years that are the heyday of the horror flicks. And Evil Dead, man, you're not going to walk around and not see Evil Dead stuff. There's going to be at least 25, 30 ashes walking around, you know, at a horror convention.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's iconic, stands on its own, but it's also horror. It's horror comedy. Like, it's kind of it transcends its own genre because it's either it's frighteningly scary in the first one. It's like you say, it's kind of a balance back and forth between scary and just goofy in part 2, and then part 3 is an action adventure with some horror elements, you know. But so they cover all the bases really. So they got a little something for everyone. Yeah. So if you're not a real big horror fan, but you want to get into the Evil Dead stuff, watch part 3. Easy enough. You know,
sure.
Like you can.
And it's really a story to where it doesn't matter where you start. And again, that's the beauty of this time period because you could watch Chud 2 and enjoy it on its own and never have to see part 1 or. You know, you take your pick. You know, you can kind of do that with any of these back in the day. And I kind of missed that. I kind of missed that idea of, I'm going to watch Return of the Living Dead Part 2, even though I've never seen the first one. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm going to watch The Curse Part 2, where Jamie Farr's fighting a dude that's got a snake for a hand. Has nothing to do with the first movie, but hey, it's pretty dang wicked. You know, it didn't matter. So yeah, I kind of missed that.
Starting the franchise with Jaws 3, like I didn't feel the need to watch the first 2, and then it was almost more rewarding. Well, it was more rewarding, like I mentioned, because I watched part 3. Part 3 story has nothing to do with the first 2 at all.
No,
right? But then you watch part 2, and then you find out stuff about part 1, and it's like, ooh, this is intriguing. It's like there's some discovery in there. There's some archaeology almost, where you're like, let's scratch this. You know, let's dig a little deeper and find out what the real thing behind it is, as opposed to feeling like you missed something because you didn't hear Quint's speech before you watched the SeaWorld dolphins thing, right? Like there's completely like the movie stands alone. In fact, it shouldn't be even related to the first one, but you know what I mean? Unless you're a super fan like me.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's one of those things where if you love it, you kind of have to include it all. Even you,
of
like
course.
when you get married, you got to accept all of her family, right? But So, a couple of things. I know we're getting close on time, but let's touch on, because we're here, let's touch on the series, right? Ash versus the Evil Dead. I really enjoyed
Unfortunately,
it.
I haven't. I've seen a few episodes over at Scott's house. Unfortunately, that is a little bit too meat grindery for my poor children and my wife. Who
Sure, yeah.
So I haven't had a chance to go back and really dig into that one. But
So when we met Bruce Campbell, he was just announcing that was going to happen. And what was so funny was while he was telling everybody, I'm not supposed to say anything, it's one of those deals, but we're starting a series called Ash vs. the Evil Dead, and blah, 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 And some guy stood up and says, yeah, but what about a movie? And he's like, look, a-hole. This is going to be a series. He says, it's going to be the equivalent to having 8 movies. And everybody just ate that up. You talking about a guy that can work a crowd, man. When we saw him, he introduced Fright Night. We went to a theater, and he came in and was emceeing for Fright Night, and then he did an opening for Bubba Hotep, and he talked about being Elvis and all that stuff. But, he was also talking about Evil Dead, and also talking about another thing, which I'm sure you've seen it, but what about the Evil Dead reboot, man?
I have not seen the reboot, actually.
What?
Yeah, I know. But it's one of those just kind of skip by me, and then Scott and I always talk about how we're both kind of just like on reboots, but is it worth it? It's good stuff.
Do it. We'll talk about it.
All right, I will. I'll put that. I'm out of town this weekend, but we'll figure it out for the next.
Yeah, I mean it's. I'm telling you. I mean, you got to remember now. This is where Sam Raimi and everybody's on board, right? They are involved with the making of this movie, and I tell you, man, I think you're gonna dig it.
Rock and roll. More scary not more on the scary side, or more on the
Think of French horror flicks, right? Inside, High Tension, but right Evil Dead.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll have to jump on that one.
Absolutely.
So, in fact, I might actually have a copy of it around here somewhere.
Yeah, it's there's gonna be things in it you go, yeah, but come on, we kind of do that with the other Evil Dead movies too, right?
True.
Yeah, just go into it, no expectations. I think you're gonna be blown away by it.
Rock and roll. Well, I will.
And watch after the movie ends too.
Okay. I think I might have a copy of it around here somewhere.
Yeah.
So
if you don't, let me know.
If I don't, I think I still haven't canceled Shudder yet either. So.
Okay.
Well, cool, man. Well, I think that brings us up to speed with the Halloween episodes. We will continue next week as long as we are in spooky season with the What's Awesome podcast. Real quick, tell everybody about your revamped YouTube and Instagram and everything so they can come follow us with all that fun stuff.
Just look for What's Awesome on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. Man, I tell you what, as we're recording right now, we are actually starting to shoot video, and these videos are only going to be available on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't already gone there and check out some stuff, we also got, besides the episodes, we have where Billy and I are going through our personal archives, for a lack of a better word, and we're sharing, collectibles, posters, movies, toys, instruments, books, all that kind of good stuff. So if you like what we're doing here, you're going to love what we're doing on YouTube even better. So I recommend you go check that out. On Instagram, I'm posting a lot of pictures of things that are awesome that are not shared on the Facebook group. So all of you Facebookers need to jump over and check out. That sounds a little dirty, doesn't it? Facebookers. Jump over there. Awesomeites from Facebook. Jump over to Instagram and check that because we're posting cool pictures over there all the time of stuff that we think is awesome. And we're continuing to grow, and we're having a blast. We're already at episode 30, and it feels like we just started.
Really, I started thinking of stuff like, it's like we were doing the spooky season stuff. I'm like, hey, that's awesome. Let me jot that down. That's pretty cool too. I'm gonna jot that down. Like we've got entire like franchises that are not necessarily even movies or whatever that.
Right. Yep.
So we're only just starting.
And don't forget
awesome stuff in the world.
And don't forget, Scary Dad podcast. Billy and Scott cranking out a killer show over there. Always a favorite. And if you want more craziness, you can check out Rad Movie Rama, which is me, myself, and I, and all my split personalities doing a show together. I don't even know how to really describe it. It's a lot of fun.
Do you have a laughing severed hand personality yet?
I need to get one, don't I? But those episodes are only about 20 minutes long, and I'm just covering. You brought it up earlier, but those grindhouse flicks, man. There's something about that seedy underbelly, grainy tape that makes you feel like you're watching something you're not supposed to watch. And I don't know why I grew up obsessed with those 70s exploitation grindhouse flicks, but I love them, and that's a big part of what I do there. A lot of horror stuff, a lot of things that I just think are rad. It's kind of the point.
Awesome, man. Well, let's cut this one down so we can get to the next one, and we will see you guys next week.